So today we are joined by Jamie and Kevin. First of all, thank you for coming along today. Absolute pleasure to have you here. What I'd like to get into, so start off in the deep end, basically multi-million exit from your business in the last few years. What I'd like to do is just if we can just go back to kind of the beginning of where it all started. Jamie, I know you kind of travelled down to sort of Plymouth and things, so if we can just kind of start there and just see how things progressed in your life to get to the point of where you are today.
Yeah, sure. So it kind of started in, when would it have been? It would have been about November 2001. Yeah. I decided to relocate, basically. So I was in Nottingham at the time. Had quite a few different sort of jobs. They're all okay jobs in all fairness, but I'd never been away to university or anything like that. And I just thought, you know what? I'd got friends in Plymouth, and I just thought, let's try Plymouth. Strange place for some people maybe thinking as well. But no, I went down there. I thought it looks nice. Being from the Midlands, we used to go with family to like the seaside, as we used to refer to it as kids, like once a year. And the fact you could actually live by the coast and see the sea pretty much day in, day out, it's like a major appeal. So I thought, okay, go there, go into a recruitment agency, get a job. Back then you could walk into a job quite easily. And it was like, if it doesn't work out, I can always move back. And that was in, like I say, November 2001. Yeah. And still in Devon now. So it went well. I knew Kevin through a friend. And so we became friends, didn't we?
We did. We used to chat online.
Yeah.
Was it MSN Messenger back then?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And we were chatting pretty much every night, weren't we?
Yeah, exactly.
After you finished your job.
Yeah, and I had jobs in Plymouth as well, and kind of had this feeling that I don't really want to, like most people, they don't want to work for someone, and it's like, well, what can we do? There's got to be a way of making money, so we decided, okay, we're going to make websites for people. This was like early 2000s. Everyone was on the let's make websites bandwagon.
And we thought it'd be a really easy thing to do as well.
Yeah.
Not factoring in clients and their demands and what they require may not quite match up with what your idea as well.
Sure.
So we did a few websites, didn't we?
Yeah. Well, what we decided was going to do about 3 little mini websites for different clients each day. But it didn't work out like that. It never does. I don't know what planet was on back then, but we thought we could all do
we were
websites.
very optimistic.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. But one of the things we was doing whilst designing websites is that we decided that, okay, we want to look professional, and we needed to get a telephone number to look like any of the big design agencies back then, so they couldn't really tell a difference. So we were shopping around online for I think back then it was like an 0870 telephone number, and we found this website, and it was the most horrid colour. I suppose what you get in the late 90s in all fairness, but and we just looked at what he was doing, and we thought he's got a fantastic business model. So people were giving him money every single month for this service, and he was making money on the minutes and all that sort of stuff. And we thought, we just need to find out where you get these numbers from, and we can do it better than that. That's a horrible colour. We can just,
because we had the skill set to do it. It was just putting all our effort and resources into doing that. Yeah. And we did it more as a sideline thing to begin with, because we didn't know how successful it would be. And eventually it kind of took over the web design side of it.
Okay.
But it was a slow burner to begin with, wasn't it? It was it kind of grew slowly, and then it kind of built up momentum over time.
It did, yeah. And Kevin always laughs at this, but all I wanted to achieve was a full-time wage between us, so we didn't have to go out and work for someone. And it still jokes with me about it now, the fact that that's all I wanted. I just wanted a full-time wage between us. And I feel like we've managed it.
Well, I think you have then, and some, yeah, definitely. So that transition away from going from building websites into the so if you'd just like to give a little bit more about how you started the business and what you actually did for your kind of customer base.
So we started with the website design side of the business, and I think our break back then was doing website design for a local nightclub, and that brought in regular work for us. And we did other stuff as well, like sending text messages out on their behalf, doing a membership scheme for them. But it brought in a regular income. And that enabled us to then start promoting the telecom side of the business. And I remember we treated it like a big investment, but it was like £5 on Google AdWords back then, which was in its infancy. And back then, cost per click used to cost like 5-10p a click. That's unheard of. But we were so worried about it running away with itself, and that would get this massive bill. So we put money into that. That started bringing in regular customers, and it kind of started snowballing from there. With telecoms, it's constant revenue, so it's always, or for us anyway, it always gained momentum, and it always grew. It's just at what pace you wanted to grow it at, and that was really dependent on how much money you had to put into the marketing to push it. So it worked well for us, didn't it?
It did. We started off very small. I moved into Kevin used to live at home with his parents at the time, and I had a bed set in Plymouth, and I used to be around there most evenings for tea, to be honest, which was great. Otherwise, it'd been a pot noodle. And his mum was absolutely fantastic, and still is, I must add. And so to cut a long story short, I moved in there, and we were still just friends back then, and we was in this little box bedroom, so I'd be sleeping on the floor during the night. He would be in a single bed, and then you had your own little computer table, didn't you, back then? And with the computer on. My computer there wasn't much space for it. I say computer was this massive box thing. Was actually in the wardrobe. So at the side of my monitors, I had coats each side of it.
It was like a fitted wardrobe, and literally his chair was facing into this fitted wardrobe, and with clothes either side of it. So it was a tight space. It was a box room. And we had 2 telephone lines installed in there, internet. So we were basically running this business from my box room at my parents. And we did that for a while, didn't we? For several months anyway. And it got to the point where we had the PBX. For anyone that doesn't know what a PBX is, it's where all the calls come in, and you can press options and stuff like that. That was balanced up against my bed. So if you didn't know us, you'd think you were calling a bigger company than what you were. So we tried to make it as credible as possible by putting all this in place, and it worked. We had a large firm of accountants sign up, didn't we?
We did.
At the time, and that was a big win for us. Had they have known, it was a small business being run from
a bedroom.
They may not have been so keen to sign up, but so we always tried to make ourselves. We never lied, but we always tried to make ourselves look established.
When we used to get a phone call coming in, one of us would answer it straight away. It's all about being quick and impressing your customer. And no matter what it was that they asked for, it'd be like, oh yeah, you just need to speak to one of my colleagues. I'll just transfer you through now. And because we had hold music on it and everything like that, from the caller's point of view, it was as if they was calling any other large company, even though Kevin was literally sat less than a foot away from me. And it just creating that illusion, especially in the early days, that people can do when they're setting up a business, that would really put them on par with some of the bigger companies.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you do have to start somewhere, and I suppose that is the most sort of cost-effective way to get started. So you started to grow it, started to build it in your bedroom. How did it feel when you started to get on those bigger customers? The revenue is increasing quite rapidly, I'm thinking at this stage, and then you're potentially looking at starting to take on staff. How were you feeling at the time when you were thinking, right, okay, we need to take things up, that next step to start employing people? Was it an easy phase for you, or?
I would say it was kind of easy, I guess, but it was not at the same. Looking back, it wasn't. We dealt with all the cause and everything. It was quite a slow growth to start with, and we kind of did everything, didn't we, for about the first 4 years easily.
Yeah.
And we was probably so afraid of taking on our first person. We took the safe option, and we took on family. Kevin's sister at the time, and she still is a sister.
How did that work? Having family in the business.
It was easy in one respect, but it was also difficult in another. Kind of the respect, I guess. I've gone from being her brother to being her boss, and that's very difficult for someone. Bearing in mind she was only like 17, 18 at the time. That's very hard for someone to flip to that kind of mindset. So it was bumpy to begin with, but then it all settled into place, and she became a really valued part of the business. So I've got no regrets, but it was a bumpy start.
If anything, she was probably treated, I wouldn't say worse, but harder. She had a harder deal compared to other staff because I suppose we could be a bit more to the point with her. And she was really good there, I must add. And she was with the business for 15 years, just over 15 years. So it was the right decision, even though at times in the early days we was questioning it sometimes. But it was really, really good choice.
But what you said about taking on big clients, how we felt. Well, I started that business with Jamie when I was 18.
Wow.
I'd only had one job previous to that, so in terms of life experience, I didn't really have much of it. I had to learn what that was. I didn't even know what that was. So it was a lot of learning, and it was quite intense in the early days. But I was lucky that I had Jamie there as well, because he was a great support. And we kind of just worked together, didn't we? And played on our strengths. And it was a case of when we knew we had to move out and get our first premises, I was kind of quite against it because it was this new big thing. And it was the commitment of paying that rent every month for it as well. But you were the driving force behind that, and it was the right thing to do in hindsight. But I found that very daunting.
Yeah, because I suppose from going from your own bedroom or a place that you know is covered, then to taking something on, you have to bring in customers, you have to bring in revenue to cover all those expenses.
Yes. Yeah.
So at this stage, it sounds like you're very much doing this all by yourself. You're learning, you're teaching yourself how to do all these various different things, learning about the tax system, learning about employment law. I'm sure you've, employment contracts and all that fun stuff. Yeah. At any of this point, were there any sort of particular figures in the public who you were kind of inspired by, or you wanted to sort of be like, or did you have any potential people that you wanted to work with to mentor you through these stages, or were you literally just going through it by yourself? Well,
for me, all I had to look up to was like television, I guess. Yeah. And kind of the only thing I had to compare against was what you see on TV, how people act, employers act with their staff. Okay, I had a job previously, but it wasn't a huge experience. So, you're watching things like programs on TV like Apprentice and stuff like that, which is completely not reality. But you kind of take that on board and you're thinking, is that the real world? Am I doing this right? Self-doubt starts creeping in. Yeah. We did all right, didn't we? We got better at it over time.
I think the main thing that we always had in the back of our minds, pretty much at the front of our minds in all fairness, was to always provide a fantastic service to the customer. So even if you haven't got a clue what's happening in the background, as long as the customer gets a fantastic service, you can worry about how to sort that issue or whatever it is out for the customer after the phone call. Just let them have a great experience on the phone. Let them be on their way, thinking we're fantastic, and then panic afterwards.
Yeah, and I think as well, having that support network with the people around you is extremely important as well. So you know that you've got people that you can talk to, you can offload onto, and sort of help you work through things. How did you find that together, having that sort of back and forth between you, supporting each other through the thick and thin?
Oh, for me, it was fantastic because a lot of it was confidence, and having someone there to talk to and discuss ideas was really pivotal for me. So for me, it was really important to have that discussion with someone rather than being isolated, and that self-doubt creeping in and stifling like the innovation and the growth of the company. I found that very useful.
What was good really with our setup was that neither of us could do the business without the other.
Yeah.
Kevin had some really good, strong technical expertise, and he could do websites for us and make updates to it. I could deal with the marketing side of it, and also with the customer interaction side of it. We could both probably, well, to be honest, I couldn't do technical stuff, but Kevin would be quite able to do marketing and customer service if he had to, but it just worked so well, the fact we got our own sort of areas that just happened naturally.
Yeah, so my previous job, and only other job, prior to that was working in the call centre, but in a technical role. So it was very systematic. It was very much, there's a set routine for everything. You know where the conversations are going to go. Whereas this was very much more dynamic, and I struggled with that. I very much struggled with picking up on people's meaning of things and stuff like that. And that later on turned out to be ADHD that I have. But I didn't know that at the time. So I just struggled with it, thinking that, I'll get better at it. And in fairness, I did. But I didn't know the reason behind it. And I just thought that's what everyone goes through, and they get better. Anything systematic, anything that's like going through knowledge, I'm really good with. More relaxed chat, more day-to-day chat, I struggle with. Like to build up a rapport with someone over the phone, that's the bit I struggle with.
Okay. So just before we got started, we were discussing what we had for breakfast. I had some water and fresh air, and then Jamie, you got on to a particular subject, what you had for breakfast. So would you just like to add to what you had this morning?
I had a bottle of Huel. So for people that don't know, it's a meal replacement with, I don't know, something like 10, 15 different proteins or vitamins in it. It's really good. And I would sooner have something that's ready-made than make something. And it's just really convenient. And like for work, I'll take it to work for lunch and stuff like that, because you can drink it in like 2 minutes and then crack on. I'm not the sort to take half an hour, an hour's lunch. It's just like, too excited for work, just crack on.
So I don't make a normal point of discussing breakfast, but it's the point that you said before about someone who you sort of look up to with regard to that brand. So I don't know, do you want to just sort of delve a little deeper into why you look up to this particular entrepreneur?
Stephen Barlett, he's just a real success story. And I think there is a connection to Plymouth where we had the business. I believe he may have grown. Did he grow up in Plymouth? I think there's something along there. It's a while ago that I heard it, but it's just someone who's done so well for themselves.
So he's headlining at John Pemberthy's AdCon event in May in London. Have you got tickets to go there? Because you've not yet to speak to him. Have you met him in person before?
No, he was going to be at one of the events that we was at, but he wasn't at the event in the end.
I was lucky enough to meet him a few years ago at EMC. So I know you were at EMC, but I think we met the following year. He was there, so we did get a photo opportunity. So that was a few years ago. But
fantastic.
He's a great entrepreneur, and I'm looking forward to what he has to say at AdCon in May. Leading up to this sort of next part, I suppose, is you're steadily growing the company. You're taking on more staff members. How are you feeling about the business at this point, and what is the view? Where are you looking to take this? Because we know that you exited, but was that always the plan, or did you kind of just grow and sort of see that was inevitable?
In terms of an exit, I think, did we plan it? No. Nothing could have been further from the truth. People used to ask us. I used to say, well, I'm not going to retire anytime soon. Why do I have to think about it now? And for a long time, I didn't understand why would you even need to think about it unless you're going to sell it within the next few years. So I didn't see the importance of it. How about yourself?
Again, yeah, we were just like, we just wanted a wage, and was having a nice healthy wage as the years went on, and it enabled us to do lots of nice things. Yeah. But no, people did used to say, what's your exit strategy? It's like, well, I'm not entirely sure what one is. Yeah. And I certainly don't want to spend time coming up with one. I
almost felt bad for not having one as well, because I always compared myself to other people, and I was like, well, am I a proper business person if I don't have an exit plan? So, yeah, self-doubt did creep in. Yeah,
it's like, if I was to give any advice to business owners currently, it's like, great, if you've got a business plan, it's a big help. Yeah. But if you haven't, don't worry, just carry on pushing your business forward. There's always time for one if and when you need one. Yeah. But even if you don't have one, you can still exit.
Absolutely. So I suppose now it is easier to set up a business in terms of all of the different bits and pieces that you have available to you in terms of tools. It's a lot easier to build websites and things now. Do you still do a little bit in social media? I know you do a little bit in social media for other companies and things. Do you still build any sort of websites or anything?
I think we're a little bit like a lot of businesses where they spend so much time on their clients' work, they kind of forget their own. Yeah. It's like if you used to look at my social profile more recently, I've hardly posted at all this year. You should really practice what you preach and do it. But what would you say about the website side of it?
So in terms of when we sold the business, I pretty much took time off. So for the past few years, I've been effectively retired or jobless, but for me, with a pandemic, and from like a health perspective, it was the right time to sell the business. So in answer to your question, really for the last 3 years, I've personally not really been working. It's been down to Jamie that started up Zero to Exit, and it's kind of there for me to jump on when I'm ready to do that. And that's only really come about in the last few months that I've actually started playing an active role in the business. So me personally, I've not really been working in it on the business. So it's really just been yourself, hasn't it?
Yeah, I would say it's a lot easier. This is going to sound strange, but from my point of view, I think it's a lot easier to grow a business when you've got no money. When you've got money, it's so much harder to grow a business because you've always got something better you can go and do. Yeah. There's so many distractions.
We just haven't found the same drivers there, because we don't necessarily have to make this work. We're doing it because we enjoy it. Yeah. So it's a total different motivator compared to when we first started, and it was like back then it was make or break. You can't keep doing this if it's not making money. Yeah. So the driving force isn't quite there in the same way.
But we thoroughly do enjoy what we do when we do it.
Yeah. So I suppose growing the business, is there one thing in the business that you just think you apart from exiting, that you're kind of really proud of, something that you achieved in the business, or something that it's allowed you to do that you wouldn't have been able to do had it not been for the business?
That's a good question.
I would say one of the things that the money that the business generated enabled us to do, which was really good, is there was a big milestone in the business that we achieved. And in the build-up to that, we'd said to the staff, look, once we hit this certain threshold, we'll take all away somewhere. We'll do something fun. Well, it was fun to us, we thought, and they really enjoyed it, in all fairness. So we took all the staff to the Savoy Hotel in London for a whole weekend. I planned it, not that great with the dates, to be honest. We got a minibus from Plymouth to London, but it was on the Friday that all the schools broke up, and we were supposed to get about 5 PM, and we was like turning up about 9 PM.
Yeah.
So it wasn't the best planning, but we did all sorts of things with them. On the Saturday, for example, went on the London Eye for champagne and canapes.
Yeah.
We then had a speedboat that took all of us down the Thames. We had more champagne. There's a theme coming. After that, we went back to the Savoy for afternoon tea. There was probably about 14 of us. I'm really not sure to this day what the people in the Savoy having their nice celebratory afternoon teas thought, because we'd had quite a bit to drink by that point. After that, we went to the theatre to see, I think it was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory at Drury Lane back then. But the host was bringing around champagne to people, and she was, "Oh, we like champagne." Everyone's like, "Oh, do you have water, please?" So they'd had a long day, and even our staff back then were turning champagne down, which is, but we had a great time. And I booked it all right up until the point of theatre, thinking that's a long day, time to go back. But then a few days before, Kevin decided he's going to add a bit more onto it.
Okay, so I thought it would be a great idea, because I thought, they'll probably want to do something after the theatre. So I organised a limo to pick us all up and to take us to Ministry of Sound and go to their VIP room up there. And I think they have a minimum bar spend. I had to spend a substantial amount to actually get us up there, because I was kind of conscious the age range of the people that we employed was quite varied. So I wanted to ensure that we had a space that was a bit quieter for them. They didn't even touch the size of the spend. I think they'd had enough drinking by that time as well.
But the two oldest members of the team, I'd already gone back to the hotel at this point. The two of the oldest members of the team were on the dance floor at Ministry of Sound. Not sure what their grown-up children probably thought of that when they got home and told them all about it. But everyone had a fantastic time. And so the money enabled us to do that. And it was just great that we could give people things that they could do that they may not necessarily afford to do, but got better things, more important things to spend the money on at home than to go on London Eye for 2 rotations with champagne canapes, all that sort of thing. So we enjoyed seeing people enjoy the money from our success sort of thing, sharing it out with the staff.
Yeah, and I think my proudest moment was looking after the staff. So taking them on experiences like that, but also paying them a good wage, making sure that they had medical insurance. And there's different like perks that we try to introduce, and we change them occasionally as well. So just really looking after them, and that really worked, for staff retention. We had a very low churn of staff, and it was great. And they obviously appreciated it. We appreciated it as well, because we had a reliable team of staff that enjoyed their job, and it was really good times. And I wouldn't change anything about that.
So we had staff. The way we looked after them, we had staff that were with us over 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and our accountant pointed this out to us, but what we did, we contacted HMRC and arranged a special arrangement where we would pay their benefit in kind tax for this event, because we spent a lot of money on them. It was like, no, this is benefit in kind territory now. So we paid all that, so because obviously we didn't want them getting taxed on it. That's not really fair when they get a few £100 tax bill for a weekend away. So we paid all that as well.
That's amazing, because I suppose your staff, it is so important to make them feel valued, and it sounds like they definitely were valued, and they appreciated that.
Yeah, they really did. And we had the same thing with customers as well. And so we made sure that first and foremost, we looked after the customers and the staff, and made them the forefront of driving the business forward. And that was our ethos for growing the business. They're at the forefront, and to make sure their experience is the best it could be.
Yeah.
And that's how we developed everything. It was around that principle.
Yeah. So now you've exited.
Yeah.
When was it? What are we in now? 2024. What year did you exit? 3 years ago?
Go on, let's see if you know.
Well, I have no concept of
Yeah.
time. I was telling you this earlier.
Yeah.
2021.
We've literally just come out of our 3-year non-compete clause. During that time, it was like, oh, when we're out of it, shall we do another telecommunications business? Oh, we could do, couldn't we? Now we're out of it, it's like, no.
No, don't want to.
Exactly. But no, it was in 3 years ago, so about January 2021, I believe.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A New Year's gift to yourself.
And it's a very nice gift, in all fairness. And it was just as we was coming out of different lockdowns. You still couldn't travel abroad, I think, at that time, which was absolutely fantastic. If we could, we would have blown so much money on round the world trips and stuff.
Asking them for a job.
Exactly. So it saved us quite a bit of money by not being able to travel at the time. But real surreal time.
But the business has carried on. Most of the staff are still there. So they all seem happy.
Yeah.
So we're happy. So it all worked out.
Fantastic. So in terms of the exit, then, when did you know that you were kind of going that way? What did you discuss that first before you did it, and then how did that process work to actually?
Okay. Do you want me to start?
I'll start.
Okay.
I would say it was partly during lockdown. A lot of people reassessed their lives and things like that. And I remember the day when it was, I think lockdown started roughly sort of late March, and it was a few weeks after that. We used to bill customers once a month, so everyone would bill at the same time. And the software that we used to use for the direct debit side of it, for collecting their invoices, we would get a notification through for each one that had been cancelled. And there was one particular day when the screen was... Sorry, it's getting emotional.
Well, we started to see the cancellations coming in, didn't we? And it was a very unsettling time because we didn't know whether or not. But there was a lot of unknowns at that time, and we didn't know whether whether the business was coming to an end because they were starting to come in on a regular basis, and it started speeding up, and we was like, where is this going? In hindsight, we had nothing to worry about. It was just people reacting to the news and probably thinking the same things that we were thinking, because they were getting cancellations through, and that was happening to them. And it was a mad dash to cancel everything that they didn't need. But we needed to worry. It didn't turn out to be a big thing. Quite a few of the customers that did cancel, they came back to us because they realised that they needed their business number to carry on trading. So it worked out all right. But do you want me to move on to me? Or
just give us a second.
No,
Let me recompose them. We can crack on with the next bit. I know what's coming. I don't know why, because that wasn't the bit I thought I would.
Yeah.
But no, it's just like email after email coming up on the screen, just scrolling through all the cancellations, and it's like, whoa, this could all go.
Yeah.
But it didn't. So, all's good.
it was a manual process as well, doing cancellations back then. So it was a real
working
pain
cricket.
as well.
Yeah. Not as easy as nowadays.
Right, ready when you are.
But for me, I was always going at 100 miles per hour. I was always on the go. The business was my life. And then you had the pandemic, and there was uncertainty, and I don't like uncertainty. That's my personality. And it was all okay. And then I noticed in a period of a week, it went from I'd be worrying about things, and then I'll bounce back. But over this period of a week, I realised that these thoughts weren't passing, and they became repetitive thoughts. It was big, small things were being blown out of proportion, and it got to a point where I just wasn't in a good place, and I thought, do you know what? I don't need this anymore. I don't need the stress. And I just sat down and discussed it with Jamie. I was like, look, this is where I am. I'm in a quite a bad place at the moment. How do you feel about exiting the business? Yeah. And we had a discussion, didn't we?
We did, yeah. We'd used a sales broker, I guess, who specialised in telecommunications and IT companies. And we'd already seen them several years earlier, because they used to be at all the sort of telecoms events. And just out of curiosity, it's just like, you take something old to the Antiques Roadshow to get it valued. So it's like that in business, where it's like, I wonder what our business is worth.
And I'll be like, oh, it's not worth anything. It's like, because I didn't think about it logically. It's like something we've built up, someone's going to want that. Probably not, but it's bringing in a nice wage, so we're happy. But we thought we'd go up and get it valued, didn't we?
Exactly, and we was pleasantly surprised, and it was like, wow, we've done this. And it's just like, I just think that anyone can sort of generate a decent business, even if they think they can't, give it a go. And this is kind of what we try and help people with. It's just like
just having that confidence and belief in themselves that they can do it, because you'll be surprised, at what you can achieve. It's just confidence, having that confidence to take that leap and that step forward. That's a big thing, and for a lot of people. But you've got it in you to do it. Yeah. You just need to find that confidence.
Absolutely. So now, in terms of the actual signing on the dotted line, are you allowed to discuss that? I mean, I know we're talking big numbers.
We can talk in sort of like very broad terms, but the actual exit process itself was obviously completely brand new to us, and we started, I think, in September, and it sold at the very end of the January. I think it's about 5 months, something like that. And it's like meeting after meeting after meeting, and they put together the sales pack. They put that out to people in the industry. I think we had about 8 or 9 initial interest shown from different parties. I was pushed in front of, virtually, because it was during lockdown, I was virtually pushed in front of people to demonstrate the control panel that we used to have. I hadn't even touched for several years, because our customer service staff would deal with all that side of it. But actually talking to, doing presentations to people, heads of companies in America, some of them were in the UK that were our direct competitors at the time. And just to think that they were actually interested in what we created, it was like really bizarre sort of time.
You were really great throughout that whole process, weren't you? Me, on the other hand, I was just going through a breakdown. So I wasn't kind of available as much as I wanted to be. But I was involved as much as I could be. Yeah. But it was, you really did take that on.
But it's pretty much a full-time job for 5 months. Yeah. I didn't think it would take that amount of time.
Yeah.
And that's with the company. There's 2 of them working on it pretty much full-time with us as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a real time. And we're always keen to kind of like share the process. Obviously not the detail so much, because of the non-disclosure agreements that we sign and all that sort of stuff. But the process itself is really interesting, actually. Yeah. Quite dull at a party to talk about it, but it's really interesting what's involved in it. And I think words like EBITDA, or I've never heard of that before, and it's like, what? Yeah. And quite often having to go back to the brokers and saying, they mentioned that. What does that actually mean?
Like earnings before tax.
Exactly. Yeah, apparently.
Yeah. But I was surprised at how long it takes. I thought it was just like sale of a house, it'll be done in a month. Once you've got the bids in and you know who you're going to sell it to, it's just going to take a month and it'll be all sorted. We did learn a lot through that process. And I always remember them saying, so what do you do in the business? And I'm doing this, I do that, not realising that they want to hear that you could step away from that business. Whereas I went in to justify my job when actually they wanted to hear the opposite. Yeah. So once I twigged, and it's like, well, I can step away from the business. Yeah. The staff pretty much do the day-to-day anyway. So I had to phone them up and just explain, I was nervous, and I misunderstood the question and explained what the setup was. So kind of backtracked a little bit, because I suppose I not messed it up, but yeah, they probably thought that they would have to have a lot more involvement in the business than what was actually true. Yeah. Yes, I did do those things, but so do my staff do those things as well. Yeah. So it was a steep learning curve.
So the day you've signed the contract, the money's been transferred, you're now unemployed with a load of money in the bank. How was that feeling? How did that kind of work? And what did you make any sort of big purchases after that, or do anything exotic?
I had my mindset just on retiring.
Yeah.
I was just like, right, that's it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to retire now. How are we going to make this money last until retirement?
Yeah.
So we went up to London, didn't we? We met up with the bank and had discussions with them about how to invest it, and we spoke to other people as well. No, we didn't make big purchases to begin with. At least I don't think so. Not that I can recall.
Well, I found it selling the business quite. It was a relief once it had sold, and it's like seeing the money hit the bank account. It's like, whoa. And then you'd count the zeros and stuff. And, wow.
How many commas?
I've never seen that, and it's like, nah, this is just like a dream. You're going to wake up in a minute. But no, really grateful for what we've achieved. But when we the first couple of weeks were quite interesting. It's like, you'd wake up in the morning, not caring the world. Yeah. But then after 2 or 3 weeks of that, it's like, it's a little bit like being in a nursing home. You just sat there, it's like doing nothing. And it's like, we've got to do something. What we're going to do with our lives? It's like, I think I was 45 at the time. You was younger than that. And it's like, we've got to do something. So I ended up volunteering at the Exeter Vaccination Centre for COVID. Yeah. So I was waving people around where to park in the car park. And I used to love getting up early to go and do that. I just had to be doing something after you've been working from the age of about 13, doing a paper round before school. It's to stop work all of a sudden. It's like, no, I've got to be doing something.
Yeah. I took to it a lot better. I've never watched so many box sets on Netflix and other things. And, I was quite content for quite a while. Yeah. I was obviously going through stuff as well. And I just needed that time to just switch off. Yeah. But I didn't really, because as part of selling the business as well, we actually sold our home in Torquay at the same time. So we downsized, and so we moved into the country. So we went from in the town centre, where you had all your amenities, we could walk to restaurants and stuff, to being in the countryside where you had to jump in your car to go anywhere. And that was all right, but it took some getting used to living in the countryside and being away from everything. And not realising that, moving into the countryside, you're going to be one with nature. And you'd hear things at night, you'd hear an owl, and that would creep me out, and you'd see foxes, deers, and it was really nice. But it takes some getting used to. It was just a great time, just that rest and relaxation, to like gather myself. But then I started getting bored as well. But I made the mistake of trying to jump into it too soon. Yeah. And not really being able to get into it. And it took me probably a couple of years to realise that. So I'm now at a place where I'm starting to get back into it now. I've enjoyed being semi-retired. I just want to get cracking with stuff again. Yeah, absolutely. And get back into it.
So now you're with Zero to Exit. You're now mentoring, coaching other people with their businesses how to exit. So how is that going, and how do you deliver that? Do you do any of it sort of in an online course environment, or is this mainly sort of in person?
It's
still very much in its infancy, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It depends. If they're local to us, then we may do things more face to face. But the idea is that we can help anyone pretty much in the UK. online on like Zoom calls, that sort of thing. So we'll typically meet with them sort of like once a fortnight online. So they've got time in between to actually work on the business whilst they're working in the business, because hence why they want to help from someone, because they're kind of like all tied up and bogged down with day-to-day stuff. So then we can come in and add some clarity to it. We absolutely love working with the clients. Sometimes it's...
I would do it for free if I could.
Yeah.
You know, and I just do it all day, you know, talking to businesses, because I just absolutely love it. Listening to how they're doing as well, you know, how they're growing their business. It's just something I'm really passionate about, and I do enjoy it.
Yeah. There's one client, for example, that we've got that he's got personal training and massage, and he's very good at what he does, and we got him set up on Google Ads.
Okay.
So he wanted more customers, so we got him set up on that. It's bringing him a nice regular flow of new customers, and the idea was to show him how to manage it for himself, but it's going to just be doing his core work. So we look after that for him as well, which is great. In our previous business, I used to look after the Google Ads accounts, and so after doing that 19 odd years, to not doing it, it was quite nice for him to say, "Can you look after that for me?"
But if it wasn't for us, because we approached him, he would have actually tried to take that on himself to save money. But we've actually shown him through him experiencing it that it's actually better to hand it over to someone so you can focus on your core business rather than trying to learn something you probably don't really want to learn about. And you get more business in that way as well, because you've got people that understand it and, you know, who can utilise it to its best potential. And it's worked for him, hasn't it? He's always really positive about how much business is coming in. And he shows us, you know, he always asks, where have you heard about me? And it's worked really well. Yeah,
we did get a nice message from him a few months ago, just saying, "I've just had my best month in over a year. Thank you very much for all your help." Also, it's not all down to us. He's great with his clients and things like that. But it clearly helped. And it's nice when you get feedback like that. It kind of makes it worthwhile, because we're not, obviously we charge for our service, but we're not about making the money as such. It's more the results that we see with our clients that we absolutely get so much pleasure and satisfaction from.
But in answer to your question, in terms of we kind of want to start with startups, and we see that working more as online training. So like kind of an entry level cost, and to teach us the stuff that we didn't know, and we struggled with, and kind of showing them how to do it and how easy it is to do it as well, and not to overthink things, and then kind of growing up to doing like online webinars with small groups of people, and ultimately one-to-ones as well. Originally we kind of shied away from one-to-ones on the basis that it's kind of hard to scale it up. But I think it's fundamental that we do it, because it keeps our skills in check as well. And it's good to talk to businesses, see what they're doing, and kind of use that knowledge as well, you know, to help other people, and, you know, just keep our skills fresh.
I think that's great, and I think it is a good thing to have a mentor or somebody who can help you through those stages, because I same as you, I started by myself. When my first business I started 15, 16 years ago, and I had to learn everything myself, learning how to, you know, I was trying to build a website for myself, learning how to make a logo by myself, and it was taking me months and months and months. I had to learn about latent semantic indexing and keywords and meta tags and all these kind of things, and it was just mind blowing. But now it's a little bit easier. And I think outsourcing is definitely one of the best ways to go, to leave you to focus on the core of your business, so that other people can do the things that they're expert at and can do it a lot quicker.
Yeah, because as a small business owner, it's so tempting to take everything on yourself, especially if you're used to not having much money and you had to do it yourself in the early days. You got to realise that at some point you're going to have to offload it to someone. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be someone that works for you. It could be a third party. But you just need to realise when that time's right. Otherwise, it's going to stifle the growth of the business.
Yeah, I think as for business owners, there's nothing wrong with not being able to do something. But there is something wrong with not identifying you can't do it and just saying, actually, no, I've got no skill in that. Yeah. Let's get someone else in to do it. As soon as you get past that point and look, I can't build a website or whatever it is that you need to have done, and you think, okay, let's hire someone in. Okay, it may cost you a bit more than if you did it yourself, but time-wise, you'll be able to spend that time doing what you're good at in your business while someone else does what you need.
Because I used to be in the mindset of, if we employ anyone, I've got to be better than them. Not because of an ego thing, but because I wanted to look after them and make sure that they didn't feel alone, and that there was someone else in the business that could do that job as well. And when really that's not the approach to take. You've got to take people on that are much better than you, so that they can really run with it, dedicate their time to it, and grow the business. Yeah,
absolutely. Just going to say, just 30-second quick break. Yeah. Is there anything that you want to pick up on next? Because we're kind of wrapping up now, if that sounds okay with you.
So. Anything you want to talk about?
No.
Have we mentioned about being in this?
No, because I was just going to say to you in a second, I was going to do it now and see whether we could slot it in the beginning.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah, I think it's better at the beginning, isn't it? Location.
Here we are, sort of thing.
Yeah, you have to do that.
Yeah, that's fine. I can just chop it.
Yeah. So I'll do that bit first, and then I'll do thanks and wrap up then. So I'm just trying to think how I started at the beginning. So it was like, okay. So first of all, I would like to say thank you for recommending this place. I know you were staying here tonight, but we are at the Bodmin Jail Hotel. And then maybe just get some B-roll for that.
Yeah, maybe go a bit more in depth and say what it actually is. So
like an old prison cell that we're in.
So this was prison cells that have been repurposed into hotel rooms.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you for recommending this place. We are at the Bodmin Jail Hotel in Bodmin, Cornwall. So it's now a decommissioned old prison, which I think it was closed its doors in 1917. So you're staying here tonight?
We are, yeah.
We've had a little wander around, having a look at the old cells, and a lot of the rooms are actually old cells now made into bedrooms, which are really quite nice. So how are you feeling about sort of staying here tonight?
Absolutely looking forward to it. One of our hobbies that we kind of try and bring into a business is doing little hotel room tours. There's loads of them on YouTube, but we're one of them. And this is one that we've been meaning to come to. And when you approached us about doing this today, it was like fantastic. I know just the place, and we can actually in the evening we can do our little video tour thing.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, really looking forward to it. Although they do ghost tours, so I don't know how I feel about that. But obviously, if we pick up on anything, we'll mention it in our YouTube video. No, really looking forward to it, and they've done it to a really high standard as well. So yeah, looks great.
Fantastic. Okay with that?
That was perfect.
Yeah. So we'll do that, and then I just want to do one last bit because I forgot to ask you about the hotel reviews that you're doing. Mm-hmm. So we'll ask about that, and then we'll wrap up then if that's all right. So another part of what you do and part of your business and things that you're kind of doing at the moment is you go around and you're doing a lot of reviews in different hotels. Do you want to sort of tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So we go away quite a lot, as you've kind of know already. But so we stay at various hotels. We visit family in different places of the country and stay in the hotels. We also watch a lot of YouTube, probably more than what we should. And we watch people that go around the hotels doing it. And we just thought, again, there's a pattern forming here in business that you always want to kind of improve on something, or you think you can do something better than someone else. And that's true in our sort of social lives as well. So we kind of thought, you know what, we go to a lot of hotels, we watch a lot of YouTube, we could actually, let's have a go at doing videos ourselves. We'll put them on YouTube. We like the idea of the fact that if you do become monetized on it, you can start earning repeat money ongoing. a bit like the telecoms, we used to get the rentals coming in all the time. And it's the same pattern with YouTube, in that we could start earning all right money if it gets to the point where it's paying for its stays.
And then we can incorporate it into our life already anyway. And we enjoy doing it as well. That's the thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's really good. Although sometimes when you end up doing 3 different nights in a row at different hotels, you kind of think, oh. But then you got to do it as if you're all excited to be there again all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's a really hard life having to do 3 different hotels in 3 days. You know, I'm sure people feel a lot of sympathy towards us.
Yeah.
Well, we do like to do varied ones. In fact, the people that own this hotel, the Bodmin Jail Hotel, have recently acquired one in in Paignton in Devon.
Okay.
It's currently a 3-star hotel, quite dated, but they've got major plans to redevelop it and make it something like the quality of this place. So we're really excited to go and see that one.
Yeah.
So we was there the other week, staying in this little 3-star hotel that it was more of a, I suppose, coach trip sort of style hotel you'd go to in Paignton. But the views from there, because it's right overlooking the beach, it's absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
So we've been there, and we're looking forward to going there, I don't know, a year or 2 whenever they've finished the renovations, and seeing what it's like.
I look forward to watching that review.
Thank you.
So, where can people see you, contact you if they're interested in any of your services? How can they watch your reviews?
Okay, so business-wise, we're at www.zerotoexit.co.uk. And from the hotel point of view, we're on YouTube, and it is Jamie and Kev Go Travelling.
Great, thank you. I've really enjoyed this session we've had today, so thank you for coming along, and thank you for recommending this place.
You're welcome.
We're going to have a little wander around now and hopefully get a bite to eat, which we were supposed to do about 2 hours ago, but the chef hadn't turned up. So thank you again for joining us today. We look forward to, even if it's okay, we'd love to do this again in a few months' time and sort of see how things are progressing. And
of course.
With Zero to Exit. But yeah, thank you again.
Thank you. It's been really enjoyable. Thank you.